Hey, look, come on in. Ring the bell before you come up in the house. Hit the like button, all right? Hit the like button, the doorbell. So ring the bell before you come up in the house. You know, take your shoes off. Don't mess up my carpet. And go ahead and get you a plate, man. We got some ribs. We got some chicken, Go ahead and get you a plate. Got some Doritos for the sides. And we finna give you some of this good old hood horror now, all right? Today, we're going to talk about a project, Poltergeist, some real life stuff. Hey, man, just let me shout out my sister here, man. I'm so glad, Wonderland of the Weird, I'm so glad that she that gave me a chance to come up in here and spit some of this stuff. And, y'all that hit the like button, man, I know, I appreciate it, she appreciate it, because that's what make YouTube really push our videos, man. So, shouts to her. Shouts to my channel, Hood Horror, and the whole Hood Horror family, man. Let's get it. Now in Tampa, in the projects, some ground-penetrating radar found what appear to be more than 120 coffins under this projects in Tampa. Now, the remains of the lost cemetery revealed by the Tampa Bay Times. So, this 2.5-acre segregated area burial ground believed to be the city's first for black folk. Now, this was established back in 1901 along the 3700 block of Florida Avenue and extended back around 400 feet. Now, it disappeared nearly a century ago when the land was parceled off for white developments. They came in and I guess just built right on top of right on top of the graves, man. Now, the radar confirmed that Zion is still there, or at least parts of it. And underground today is the home of the back of the Robles Park Village public housing complex owned by the Tampa Bay Housing Authority. So the folks who live there, they started learning this news, like a year or two ago or whatever. Now, Clark Simmons, the vice president of the tenant council, it brought him to tears, man. And he was like, man, those people are still there. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, you gotta call Jesus in that situation, boy. Gosh, dog. So archaeologist Eric Pendergrass or something, he described the whole thing as like reflections of rectangular objects that are the size and shapes of coffins between 4 and 6 feet in depth. Pendergast is principal project investigator for private archaeological assessment company Cardno, now hired by the Housing Authority to investigate whether occupied graves remain on this land. So the reflections from the radar are arranged in rows and orientated east and west within boundaries of a former cemetery, he said. Now, they asked if the shapes could show something other than caskets. Paul Jones, the project manager for Cardinal, replied, that would be too big of a coincidence. Yeah, it's like, what you think? Folks got like buried coffin-sized treasure all up under the projects. So now the Times published a special report about the forgotten cemetery in June, prompting the Housing Authority to hire the archaeologists. Now, during the 9-month search, the Times pieced together the cemetery's lost history, but found no evidence of the mass burial. So in response to the report, the Housing Authority set up the Zion Cemetery Archaeological Consultation Committee. Man, that sounds like I was rapping for a minute. For members from the authority in the city of Tampa, the NAACP, the Florida Public Archaeology Network at the University of South Florida, and the Robles Park Apartment Resident Council in Cardinal. Now, Cardinal informed the committee at his meeting Friday that the caskets had been found. So, like Simmons and Reva Eamon, president of the Robles Park Village Tenant Council, they both cried, and she walked up out the meeting room. Man, that really hurt those people, man, because, that really hurt, bro. They gotta hurt. You've been just walking on Mud's grave, you don't even know it. Now, I've been to the cemetery for fun a few times, and I might have walked and sat on some people's graves, but it was like I knew I was doing it, so I guess it was a little different. I felt like I was keeping them company or something. So, anyway, Now, Leroy Moore, the Housing Authority Chief Operating Officer, says Zion is an active cemetery. Now, for Yvette Lewis, president of the Hillsborough County NAACP, seeing the tears at the meeting diminished her satisfaction at knowing where the bodies remained on the site. And she said this is due to white people hating black people. Well, Lewis said that, yeah, that's, hey, look, we ain't attacking no white folk. We ain't talking about y'all who listening now. We talking about some other white folk from way back in the day now. We ain't talking about y'all. I am sure that y'all don't hate, because if y'all hate, you wouldn't be here. So, we love all y'all. So overall, why I can't say that dang word today? Archaeologists, the archaeologists, whatever, have discovered that they believe to be the 126 caskets, but there are likely more. Now, the radar cannot detect century-old human remains if they weren't buried in a coffin. It was typical in the early 1900s for poor black folk to be buried in fabric shrouds, and old bones would be too deteriorated to appear on a scan. Now, in addition, the portion of Robles Park Village, once home to Zion Cemetery, now got 5 apartment buildings on it, and radar can't see through their floors. Now, what's more, Cardinal has access to less than 40% of the cemetery property, the portion owned by the Housing Authority. The rest is owned by restaurateur Richard Gunsmark. So everywhere we have tested that would assume was a burial has proven to have burials, the guy Pendergast said, and therefore we can predict that the rest of the cemetery has burials unless they were removed. And Cardinal cannot be certain though without surveying the rest of the site. Now, Gunsmark's attorney, Jeff Shannon, told the Times via email Friday, this not recently, this from 2020, that next steps include meeting with those who conducted the research. And he said we will all, use what we learn to make thoughtful decisions for our company and our community. Gunsmark had planned to build a culinary school on a property to help low-budget income people work into profitable careers. So what it's looking like there is looking like this restaurant guy. He like, oh shoot, if my junk built on top of that cemetery, then I'm gonna have to get my junk towed down and start over and find a new spot. So here go the issue now. Him finding a new spot, because he probably had that spot for a long time, man. So him finding a new spot, man, he got to pay some new money, and taxes and all that junk get higher and higher every year. So he ain't trying to do that. So now I guess he trying to say, no, y'all, ain't nobody buried here, man, but I do plan on starting a culinary school for poor people, So, it's okay for me to be on top of the dead slaves, just as long as I start a culinary school for the younger generations, right? Nah, bro, I won't. That ain't. Well, look, I don't live there, so I ain't gonna give. I ain't gonna speak for them. Maybe they do want a culinary school, but hey, you gotta give the people what the people want, man. That's how you gotta do it, bro. But now that the property is known to be a previously marked cemetery, he has to determine whether there are bodies there before he can build, said Jeff Moultz, regional director of the Florida Public Archaeology Network. If human remains are found, Moultz said, Gonzalez could still build there, but not before moving them to a cemetery. Now, the housing authority said it would not remove any of the bodies. When the agency redeveloped Robles Park in the coming years, the Zion Cemetery land will be turned into a memorial park operated by the city, and the park will honor the pioneering black folk who buried there. Now, the Housing Authority hopes Gonzart will add his property to the park. Now, relocation will begin soon for the people living in the Robles Park Village buildings that occupy the burial ground, all in the 200 block of East Stratford and East Kentucky avenues. The authority needs to consider moving everybody who lives there sooner than planned, said COO Moore. And all told, Robles Park Village is home to 1,118 people and 483 units across 60 sound buildings. Dang, man, that's a lot of people. Man, that's a big project, bro. Now, the Times discovered death certificates for 382 people who were buried in Zion, and a cemetery historian who conducted follow-up research said he found 747 people. See, that's the whole thing right there, is you don't know who really, like, man, if they pay one guy, hey, we need you to look up the records. Okay, it's 747 people. We need you to get that number down to about 300 something. Well, I can't do that because, well, maybe you can. And then they show, let me show you my friends. Mr. Franklin, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Another Mr. Franklin. Oh, you like Mr. Franklin and Mr. Jackson, huh? What president on a 50? I ain't seen a $50 bill in so long. I don't even know who the president on the $50 bill is. So anyway, it says Zion had room for 800 graves, plus a potter's field for the indigent and unknown. So the potter's field contained 27 of the caskets found by the archaeologists. Now, in 1951, the Housing Authority unearthed 3 caskets during construction of Robles Park Village, but did not search for more. Now, at the time, the apartment complex was open to white folks only. So some bodies may have been moved through the years and others was left behind, he said. It's possible that there are coffins without bodies, said Jones, the project manager. It is possible that there are remains of coffins. It is possible that there are completely undisturbed coffins. But we ain't going to be able to answer anything until the next step of the process. So the next step would be ground truthing, or truth thing, or truth, like truth with ing on the end, or digging into the ground in a way that leaves the bodies undisturbed. And the Housing Authority is considering how to proceed with the work. So what happened, man, is like, I guess back in the day, around 1950s, because when they was building the projects all across America, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, times like that. So they was building it. And at the time, when they built it, they came across the coffins. But they didn't give a crap, man. They didn't care. They didn't care at all. So they left it there. And since they left it there, they left it open. They left it there. They left the bodies there. They didn't search for more. Like, how you gonna only find like 3 people buried? You notice some more. And then they put sewage lines, I guess, and they put electrical lines and cable. Like, at some point they found out that there was more people there. They just didn't care. That's the bottom line, man. It's simple. Ain't nothing mystical, twistical, or incomprehensible about it, man. They just saw it and they just didn't care. Now, update on this, and this update just came out like late last night, man. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like, right when I decide to do this, like, I go and look up, I go and look it up and for an update, and the update just dropped January 27th. That's the day I'm recording this, January 27th. And it says, if Florida State Senate bill is passed, more resources will be dedicated to uncovering any and all erased cemeteries in the state, like the ones discovered in the Tampa Bay area. Now, earlier this month, Tampa Bay Mayor Jane Castor apologized for the actions of the administration for the city's role in erasing the black cemeteries. Now, the apology meant a lot to Reva Inman, president of the Robles Park Village Council Association. The current administration, now in Tampa Housing Authority, the current city mayor, city council leader, state representatives were not back in the 1952. But for them to come together now and try to correct someone's wrong that wasn't their wrong, it means a lot to me. And that's what the lady who run the administration for the project said. But she said it doesn't take away from the hurt knowing that African-American cemetery was erased in the first place. And even still remembers the moment that the investigation confirmed that the graves were buried underneath several Robles Park apartments and nearby properties. She said it was disgusting. It was heartbreaking. It was, how can they do this? It was, who did it? It was, we need some answers. Seeing when they were digging down and seeing the outline of the bodies, even the babies' bodies, how they roped the bodies off to show where they were. Now, seeing is to believe, is to still unbelievable. How could somebody do this? This lady the go-to person for the whole neighborhood, man. They got a little community center, computers and stuff like that. If this grave site was started in the early 1900s, that means that it's a possibility that a lot of those people buried there were slaves. Because slavery didn't stop till 1860. Some people say that slaves built the country, especially here in the South, man. Because I live in Atlanta, man, and everywhere, all these places in Atlanta, all these big buildings, and bro, these places used to be plantations, man. People tell me, like, yeah, right here, where this mall at, back when I was a little kid, it was a plantation. So it's messed up when mugs broke they back building, and then you go and build on top of their backs.